in regards to his overexcitement when he meets people, and how to properly introduce him to a new person, as well as entering a space where Dex is when he goes back to his fun, bouncy self. Little 75 pounds up in the air, trying to give you a big bear hug. So we want to make sure that we can nip those behaviors in the bud. And because Dex is so incredibly high energy and he demands a lot of exercise, making sure that he is pretty tired when he does start to do training is crucial. And when we do have a dog that is very high energy and we try to train him at that time in which his energy has not yet been drained, it's going to be difficult to get him to focus on us. And I do have some of his treats here in my pouch. However, I want to make sure that while treats are a good way of rewarding him for following through with a command, we don't want to give him food all the time. We don't want him to be dependent on the food in order to perform tricks for us, whether it be something simple like a sit or even, a shake, for example, which he does pretty well. But we want to make sure that he can also use affection in place of a treat. So we can use those treats intermittently when we do reward him for doing these or following through with these commands. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is rewarding calm behavior at home. This is a really, really great exercise for both dogs and people. This mainly focuses on rewarding the dog. Now, in this case, we will be using food, but rewarding the dog for being calm. And at this time, you can see part of Dex here. At this time, we would be able to give him affection. He's in a very calm state of mind. He's very relaxed. He's not overly excited. So when you're at home and with Dex, sitting on the couch or something like that, you're relaxing, maybe Dex comes over, he wants to hang out with you, he's a little bit excited. At that point in time, we would ignore that behavior. When he decides that, hey, so-and-so's not giving me any affection, so I'm just going to lay down, I guess. That is the perfect time. You need to take, maybe if you have like a little container full of treats or something up on the side, at that point in time you would take your treat just like this, not say a word to Dex, and give him the food. So he's going to understand eventually that when he is in this calm state of mind like he is right now, that is the time in which he can get affection, that is the time that he can get food. So at this point in time, he's able to get a nice rub down, a good massage. However, if he does start to get very excited, at that point, we would completely ignore him. And because of Dex's size, the overexcitement is a problem, especially if he's going to be around a family, maybe with children or older people. We want to make sure that Dex can stop his jumping, and he's a little bit mouthy sometimes when he gets excited. And now this is all just play to him, and he hasn't really learned bite inhibition yet. So when he puts his mouth on you, he doesn't understand that that's not something he should be doing. And when this happens, when he does put his mouth on you or anything like that, I want you to make the biggest shriek you have ever made. You want to make sure that Dex understands that the reaction that comes from that is not something that he appreciates, something that maybe makes him surprised. Whoa, hey, I put my mouth on her and now she's shrieking. I shouldn't do that again. So with time, with practice, these are things that Dex needs to work on. He is a big puppy, and these are things that the puppy should be working on as soon as they come into contact with people. But because Dex doesn't really have a family right now, in order to be consistent and teach him all of these things with the same people involved and create a pack structure, it's a little bit more difficult for him. And so the family or the person that would be taking him in really needs to try and work as much as possible on the overexcitement issue and be consistent in what they're doing in regards to that. So being a good boy. On the ground, good boy. All right, so just like I said before, rewarding that calm behavior if he's just relaxing, lying down. Don't talk to him, treat. And that's it. So we don't want to cause too much excitement. By us talking to him or touching him, he might get a little bit excited, and that's what we want to avoid completely. We want him to be in this calm, submissive state of mind. Granted, he is a puppy, but we want to make sure that we exercise him as much as possible, tire him out, and a tired dog is a happy dog. So if you notice maybe that he's getting a little bit destructive or naughty, maybe he's jumping a lot more, nipping or things like that, and you've been trying these methods, they haven't been working, exercise him. I highly recommend a treadmill. Because of his energy level, it will be a lot easier to drain that energy while he's working on a treadmill if a large space is not available. And Dex is a very confident dog. He's a good boy and he has no reservations about going into an area or meeting so-and-so. He's so confident. So this is excellent. We don't want him a nervous dog. So him being very confident, that's great, and we don't want to make it so he feels uncomfortable or has a reason to be nervous in a certain situation. Now, he's doing so good, Steve. Perfect. All right, so also another thing that I want to talk about is when we do approach Dex, when we go into an area that Dex is in. Maybe he hasn't exercised yet that day or something like that. But because of his size, it is hard to completely ignore him when he's jumping on you. So one of the methods that I found that works pretty well with large dogs that enjoy giving us hugs is to do the worst possible thing you could ever do. Remove yourself from them. So all they want is your attention. So that's why they're jumping on you. That's why they're trying to be eye level. They're trying to get close to you. But we want to make sure that we can have good experiences with our dogs. So the worst possible thing an owner could do to their own dog is take themselves away. On his face. So when we do have that situation where Dex is very excited, he's jumping on us, we want to make sure in that case, if we cannot remove ourselves by just turning around this way, he's very large, take yourself completely out of the area, wait a little bit, and try again. Oh, he's pulling out all the stops. This is perfect. Lay back down. So, removing yourself from his area, you have to take yourself away. He'll realize eventually that the only way he's going to get your attention is if he stops jumping. Now, if he was a smaller dog, it would be a lot easier to tell him off and remove yourself this way, but physically removing yourself from the entire room, especially with a very large, heavy dog, is, from my experience, the best way to handle that without the person getting hurt. So, one other thing I wanted to talk about here is when we introduce Dex to new people. Now, because Dex is easily excitable, we want to make sure that he gives a very good, lasting first impression when he meets someone. And because he's a puppy, he has that high energy, he's very bouncy, but his sheer size, he looks like an adult. So the jumping and things like that are things that we need to make sure that we have a lead on him when we do introduce him to people. And when he is introduced, it is a good idea to make sure that he has exercised prior to that introduction. Again, exercise being so important. We want to drain that energy. We want him to be focused on the task at hand, which is meeting someone new. And what we want to do is work on our core commands. So, heel, we went over that earlier, and also sit, which he does very well. He knows a lot more than he lets on. So, he knows sit, he knows down, and he's pretty good with stay. distractions that are around him. So when we're working on him, meeting new people, we want to make sure that with that person that we're practicing with, we let them know, hey, we're going to be doing some training right now. If you'd be able to help us, that would be great. First thing, what we want to do is let them know, no talk, no touch, no eye contact. They are to completely ignore him, which is hard because he is very cute. But